Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Abarcast. I am your host, Brian Abarca, and I am here with a special guest. You might know him from my Instagram videos, the famous, my boy T. How you doing, T?
Good to be here, man.
It's my man's T. His full name is Torey. He is a motivational speaker and a life coach. This man literally does speeches all around the U.S. and all around the world.
That's true.
You know? And fortunately, I'm not going to say unfortunately, but fortunately enough, sometimes you take a break from training and then you just kind of like, you disappear for 2 weeks and then you come back, but you know what? You come back with crazy ass stories.
Yeah.
And telling me, you know what? Like, I tried this food, I did that, I did X, Y, and Z, I went to Alaska. And
I hit Planet Fitness, don't forget that.
Yeah. And you're still hitting the gym, which is amazing. So for the people that do not know or do not follow me on Instagram, this man's my client, and I was inspired by, what he does as a living. He does many different types of things. It's just to name a few. There's a few times where I kind of touch base on him housing people that do not have nowhere else to live. He motivates people. He helps people discover their own purpose. Torey, like, enough of me introducing you. Like, what do you do for a living right now?
Okay, so like you said, I'm a motivational speaker. I also help people as a life coach. Also, I'm a minister as well. So all of that's interwoven into my faith as well. I've been doing it for the last maybe 10 years or more.
Okay.
I started young. I was just inspired, just wanting to see people walk in their purpose and see the best come out of people in their life.
All right. And what started this journey? Like, what made you get the itch, or what was your epiphany where, like, you were just like, you know what, I want to follow, my faith. I want to follow what my calling is, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up in a, just really solid Christian background family, that I've, just was either involved in music or involved in other things, always touching people. My grandmother, she was like a really big influence in my life. Like her house, we called her Nanny. So everybody came to Nanny's house. So like if people were depressed, they came to Nanny's house. People needed a place to stay, came to Nanny's house. So just kind of watching that dynamic of always helping people, encouraging people, being a place of refuge for people. It was kind of inevitable that was going to be my pathway, either being a minister or a psychologist. There was going to be something where I was able to touch and reach the hearts of people.
Was there another route that you might have maybe gone through before you became, a motivational speaker or a minister or whatever the case?
Yeah, definitely. I said it just a few seconds ago that I wanted to be a psychologist because I was like, you know what? There are so many hurting people. I want to be able to speak to them one-on-one, and somebody actually just might need a real good conversation just to talk them off the edge, or just really be there to say, you know what, I know what you're going through, and here's some strategy on how you can get out of it. So, I mean, psychology was the thing that I was ultimately going to go into.
And what transitioned you out of that?
I realized I was running from an ultimate call, which was in my faith, being a minister, and I was like, you know what, I want to really more so interweave my my faith as a Christian in there, but at the same token, I don't know, it just was more of a perfect fit. Nice. And so yeah, man.
Nice. And tell me how your business kind of just like how it runs. Like you told me in the past that you get paid for your speeches.
Sure.
Now, where do you have your speeches? How do they reach out to you? How do you book them? Elaborate on that.
So honestly, for me, many of my relationships started outside of what I do, speaking wise. It started, of course, I was saying my family's in music.
Mm-hmm.
Much of it started with me doing music at first. So I was singing, I was playing piano, things like that.
Wait, so you're a musician too?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
you didn't tell me this.
Yeah, so I played the piano.
Okay.
So I mean, it started with that, people knowing my family, knowing me, knowing that we're musical people. I think a lot of the relationships were born out of that. And of course, typically if you're in any type of music, you got to be a good speaker or either a good actor or something like that.
Yeah.
So just things just kind of like broke open from there. And so having the ability to have connections and just events started opening up to me, man, honestly. And just like I would say door after door, one opportunity would lead to this. And over time, like it just grew my name and it grew my influence. And ever since then, man, I get to travel and do what I love to do.
And I understand that your facility right now, I don't know what the terminology is.
Sure.
Is it?
So
it,
we have a church. We have a
it's
church. I have
okay.
a school. We have a media center. Kind of pretty much doing what we're doing here. We like have live interviews, music. Of course, we do some stuff on the religious angle of things, but really helping people discover their purpose.
And the setting is in New York.
It's
correct?
in New York City, right in the heart of New York City. So
Right.
I'm a block away from Penn Station. It's also a place where people can come and unwind from their day, like a tough day. Just want to actually really just connect with God. They're able to come and spend time and pray and write and think. Sometimes we have staff that are on board there that come and talk to other people that are like maybe just be having a bad day. I have staff that are lined up to help with those needs of the people in our city and in the community.
Great. Like, were you always stationed in New York, or did you have another facility somewhere else?
Okay, so I'm a Jersey boy.
Okay.
But mainly my main crux of what I do started in New York City.
All right. And you were born and raised in New York City, no?
Born and raised in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
East Windsor, New Jersey, to be exact.
Okay. And but you have family. I'm always hearing that you tell me that you're always visiting family.
Yeah, I got family all over the place. You know,
all over the U.S.
You know, black and Hispanic people. You know, we got family everywhere, man.
That's true. That's true. That's true. All right. So I mean, where do you see this type of business, you know, heading towards? Let's say in the short term, like in the next 2 or 3 years. You know, because you tell me that you know you're helping other people, which is amazing. You know, it's very empathetic. Like you're genuinely just trying to help people.
Sure.
Trying to help them, you know, through their path, through faith. You know, if they need, you know, God, you know, transition them into
Sure.
God, etc. Like how do you? At the end of the day, you know, you need to put a roof over your head. Like how do you get paid?
Okay, so, man, honestly, through organizations that bring me in to speak, there's typically a fee that comes with that. They fly me in, I speak, and one of the things is not so much how much I make in, it's how much I get to deposit out. In the impact, and it's what I do is the impact that actually brings me provision. And so I try not to put like a limitation on my fee. Of course, there's a base rate or whatever, but for the most part, man, like all of my needs are always met. You know, just doing what I need to do, so that I can continue to do what I'm doing in the city and also live what I do personally. So
I've always been curious with, you know, with speeches, like, is
Yeah.
there ever a theme? Like, do they tell you, all right, you're going to be speaking about this, or do you just go in there and then you just read the crowd and then you just
So
you know,
it's a little bit of both. Usually I have a grid depending on what type of setting it is. If it's a business setting, if it's a church setting, if it's an audience, no matter what it is, I find out, okay, what is the topic? I study demographics really well. So I kind of like look at, okay, what region am I in? What's the demographics of people that I'm going to be speaking to? And I usually tend to cater a message of let's just deal with like fear, overcoming fear. That's usually a big thing that I'm usually speaking about quite a bit, or stepping into the next place of your life. Like, what were you always born to be, or what were you always born to do? And I'll take that message and I'll cater it towards that audience. And then, yes, I do read the room. I study the audience. I study the atmosphere. And then I just kind of talk from there, and I just talk from my heart. I use real life accounts. I use biblical accounts. I use stories that inspired me. And then I use just kind of where we are in society and then helping people navigate, especially in this pandemic, like navigating, having hope in uncertain times.
So when you end up reading the room, okay, and you end up, let's say, speaking about fear, like there's a lot of people who, you know, are my followers, who follow this podcast, etc., who may be feared, who may be scared into trying to pursue their happiness, pursue, you know, their goal, pursue their career, etc. Like, what would you tell them? Like, give me a little spice or a little sample of like what tea is on stage.
So, like, for instance,
Like, what would you say?
When I think of the word fear, fear is false evidence appearing real. It's usually something that either
I love that acronym.
Yeah,
That's
false evidence appearing real. And so most people, they're afraid to step forward because they know what they've been through. They know their past. They know certain things that they walked through. And it's usually easier to go backwards than it is forward because you have a reference. No matter how bad it is or no matter how toxic it is, it's easier to go backwards. And so a lot of times people live from an old reference. So before they even try, they remember the last issue that happened, the last shoe that fell, or the last relationship that didn't work. And so inviting people to actually break the cycle of going backwards and actually what would happen if you actually tried to go forward? What would actually happen if you believed or had hope in this situation?
Is it hard speaking to, you know, like I could imagine, like, let's say if I was fearful of something and then you tell me that, it will be a little bit easier or smoother for you to kind of like transition me into where you want me to go. But like when you have an audience, how do you do that?
It takes,
you get what I'm saying? Like there's 50s, hundreds of people. Like how do you transit? Like,
you really have to study the room, but you cannot be one-sided. You have to think about where people are in their lives. You got to think about where people are in society. You have to think about just so many different dynamics. You have to really scale the entire room, but really be realistic. Where are people in life? And think of various scenarios that are not like, I just can't go into a place and be like pretentious and act like everything's Alice in Wonderland or Walt Disney. People are really struggling in life sometimes. And so they just need a word of hope. They need somebody encouragement. Actually, somebody to say, you know what, I've been where you are and look at me. I'm a testimony. So basically, I tell the worst of my worst. So, or I'll tell stories that I know, or like I said, I'll use biblical accounts. I'll use accounts with my family, things that I've walked through, to encourage them that if I can make it through, so can you.
What molded Torey to kind of educate other people? Like, what are those past traumas? If you're open to just sharing maybe at least one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm open book. So my thing is, man, I mean, I grew up in a context where, you know, lived in a 2-family home, mom, aunt, brothers, my cousins, more like siblings to us.
And you didn't mention father. Your father wasn't there?
Yeah, so my father died when I was young.
Okay.
So my father, when I was born, I think he was incarcerated. But I remember he came out for a period of time, and then shortly after that, he passed away. And so that was early on, watching my mother struggle. She worked crazy hours. She was a nurse, and then if she wasn't doing her job, we were in church. So, you know, watching the different dynamics that come there, brothers, you know, that, you know, just trying to make it without fathers, you know, young black men, cousins, all these different scenarios. I remember just watching my mom struggle. I watched our family go through financial issues. And I mean, looking at it, yet one thing that my family kept was our faith. And we would still encourage other people. We would still help other people. And although it didn't seem like we had the most, you know, compared to whatever we had, we gave to others as well. And so I think that really put core values in sharing and core values of faith on the inside of me. Really, it was my upbringing that really shaped who I am today. And I think walking through those periods of, you know, feeling insecure, walking through feelings of feeling, you know, without a father, you know, just all the things that come with being a male, being a black male, B, you know, in a society where you're already seeing incarceration, you're seeing hardships, you're seeing financial issues, you're seeing not being able to go to college, a couple different things that happen in context like that, you know? And so I feel like those were the things that really marked me to rise above. But I thank God that I had a mom that no matter what our situation was, or no matter, I felt like we lacked nothing, you know?
I like that.
So
I like that. You touched base on your parents and specifically your mother. Now, your mother, I'm aware that she's still alive and she's a nurse,
she's
correct?
a nurse, yeah.
So, what does she think about what you do for a living now?
Oh, she absolutely loves it. She's my biggest cheerleader. I mean,
Really?
sometimes a little too much. I mean, I was about to block her on social media recently because she's forever like on my page or sharing it. Even if she can't get in contact with me, like if I'm on the road, she'll go on my timeline, please call mom. I'm like, you can't be doing that, you know? So.
Hey, well, listen, my mom does the same thing.
I'm like, you about to lose your friendship with me. I'm about to block you on my page.
Listen, I've blocked my mom in the
Oh
past.
my God.
I literally have. Because she would just like reshare my stories and just say my baby boy.
Oh, right. That's my mom.
I was
That's my
just like,
mom.
oh, Jesus.
And you know, one of the other things, my mom, she really does not know how to use social media well.
Right.
So what she does is like, instead of, you know, like you get the friends list that says you're supposed to hit confirm. Now, if you go under the confirm list, there's this thing that says add friends. So for whatever reason, the way that our algorithms work, she's friends with my friends. And so if there have been people that have not still been friends with me, she's been friends with my enemies. I'm like, Mom, you gotta erase them, you know, stuff like that.
Oh,
So.
shit, friend. That's crazy. All right, so I did touch base on, you know, what is the short term of what Torey's business is. Like,
Sure.
where is, you know, in 2 to 5 years, where do you see your business going?
Man, I think the biggest thing is how can I impact more generations of the next generation that's coming up? I think that when you have a vision, if it doesn't touch something outside of you or beyond you, at least 10 to 20 years beyond you, you don't have a real vision. You have a daydream. And so I always say that.
Wait, hold on. Repeat that again.
I'll say if you have if your vision does not touch people beyond you or where you are, at least 10 to 20 years out, you don't have a real vision. You have a daydream. And usually daydreams are personally driven, personally motivated, but a real vision touches other people.
I like that.
And it should impact others. Your vision should live beyond you. So what you do, how does it impact your children or your niece, your nephew? How does it impact somebody that's beyond you? What kind of legacy am I leaving? Not even waiting for me to die, but what type of pathway am I plowing for somebody to not have to go through the things that I've either had to walk through?
So saying that, like, how, like, trying to have a vision or finding a vision or trying to implement your vision.
Yeah.
What is your business going to be doing in the next 2 to 5
So
years?
right now, my biggest thing, and actually rolling out some plans on education. Like, what would that look like going into the inner city? What would that look like going into places where maybe people that look like me that may have struggled with having, you know, just one parent or, you know, not always feeling like they had the privileges of certain things, that I would be a mentor, that I would provide arts for students that, you know, learn differently, you know, because again, I was a creative growing up. I mean, they thought I had an issue, like, because I was super creative, very gifted, very empathetic, empathic, you know, like, so people knew that. And because of that, I struggled in school, like paying attention. I was always worrying about what were the other students doing. Like, I was just all over the place, man. But it was the way that I was wired. I learned differently than everybody else. And so what would have happened if my school would have had that back then? So I want to offer things that I didn't have growing up. I want to be something to someone that I didn't have growing up. And so my organization, our thing is, how do we be the solution? How do we be the answer? Of course, we see what's going on with the world. We see what's going on. How do we become the solution instead of talking about the problem?
Okay. And what about long term? And, like, let's say in 15, 20 years, when Torey is, you know, you're probably like going to be 40, you know, you're a young guy, man, you know, like when you're, you know, middle age or a little above middle age, like where do you see your business going? Like, are you going to just hand it down to, like, let's say, you know, your kid or your manager or someone who's below you?
Sure. I mean, I want to see it in other states. I feel like I want to go to key places that can be an impact. Right now, New York City, of course, is one of the key cities in America,
definitely.
Key cities in the world. I want to be able to touch places that are key and impactful. throughout either America or out through nations in the earth. So Africa, places like South America, just different places that I've always had an affinity for, that I want to actually have, doing what I'm doing similarly, but I want to multiply it. So I want to train someone else in the Torey effect. I want to train somebody else in what we do, so that I'm not the only one doing it, that it actually leaves a trail behind it.
And you mentioned in the past, during our training sessions, we have those chats. You've mentioned that the people that you house that have nowhere to live, in exchange, you kind of just mentor them and just have them become, somewhat like your workers, or
they become interns.
Interns, okay.
So
like, what do they do? Like, let's say people out there who are in a similar space, and and they're listening to this, and they're just like, oh wow, there's actually a man who's actually doing this. Like, what can they expect? Like, what can you explain about that?
It creates opportunity. Basically, my thing is, how do I create opportunity? How do I take the space that I have and then also share it with others at the same time, grow them in their faith, grow them personally. At the same token, how do I give them access to do what they're gifted to do under the umbrella of what I do, but yet not limiting them, but it becomes a launching pad, and they become a part of the family. They become part of a global family together, that if someone says in my interns, I really feel a passion to go to Chicago, but I don't want to disconnect from what we're doing. I want to take away what you've trained me to do. We support them. And so basically they're not just workers, they become a part of a global family, and they begin to carry out our name. They begin to carry out our message, and they do it in whatever unique way that they carry that out in.
So let's say if this guy, Little Jimmy, goes to Chicago.
Sure.
What does he end up doing? Let's say, like what's the, you told him, okay, like, yeah, like you could spread the word, you could spread, what we're trying to accomplish, etc. So like, do you at that moment, like, do you pay for his housing, and then does he spread the word?
Yeah,
like,
we're gonna, like, no good parent, and see, we try to have like a family context in what we do. I don't want to say no good parent. I would say it like this: most parents would want to give starting money, some launching money. I want to see you be responsible and have some level of ownership, but at the same token, I want to be able to support you, that that I'm always there, that your battles are my battles, however I can support you, however I can make ways or make connections for you. And so that's what we try to do. We try to really
Sorry, that's amazing. That's crazy, man. That's so generous. That's one of the reasons, guys. That's one of the reasons why I brought him here, is because this man, he's just like, whenever we started training sessions, I put him through a warm up, and he would just try
a hard warm up.
Oh yeah, like it's yeah, right. He would just tell me, it's a rough day, and he would just kind of vent through his work day. But then he would always revert back to, like, I have this family that I'm helping out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is like 3 times a week, and these are different families, like, which is like, you don't find people like that anywhere. Like, and if you do, for example, it's funny, I was just having this conversation earlier today with someone. Like, it's generous, but then, like, those type of people, they expect something back,
right?
And you don't really expect anything back,
right? You have to do what you love. You have to love who you do it for, and you have to love who you do it with. And if you're thinking, it's sacrificial, and ultimately, I know where my blessings come from ultimately, but I want to be able to give back.
Right.
And that's just the way it happens, man.
Oh, dude, that's crazy, man. I admire you so much, bro.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. You touched based on the creativity of Baby Torey, of Baby T.
Yeah. Oh my
right?
God.
And I always want to kind of touch base on, like, the upbringings.
Sure.
Like let's touch base on the creativity side of Torey. Like, you told me you had some issues in school and you couldn't really focus.
Yeah.
And you were always creative. Like, elaborate on that. Like,
so for
like
me,
what?
because I was like always surrounded by music. Again, your upbringing really does come out in your behavior and all that stuff like that. But man, I was always if it was musical, I could catch it. If it was engaging, I can catch it. But growing up in an environment that I think at that time, especially where I lived, there was no programs for creative kids. There was no programs.
This was Jersey.
This is New Jersey. This
Where?
is an all white town, East Windsor, New Jersey.
Okay.
Here I am, young black guy, super creative. So the first thing, sometimes in places like that, they get categorized as special needs, or they get categorized. They throw them right in self-contained classes.
Wow.
So for the most, and this is so wild. For the most of my life, I was in special education classes as if I was self-contained or something was wrong with me,
Right.
and I didn't have an issue with learning. And it wasn't until high school that I had my first real mainstream class, which was public speaking. And that was a class that I excelled in the most. That was a class I excelled in the most.
You were just the all-star there.
Yep. And I remember my public speaking teacher at that time. I'll never forget. I got up to do a presentation. She said, someday we're going to watch you on TV and you're going to touch thousands of people. And literally everything she said became a prophecy. Like literally everything I'm doing today is touching thousands of people around the world.
That's insane.
In the very area that I would have looked, it would seem like was incapable.
You know, I actually did a public speaking course when I was in college.
It's
and
amazing.
And it was just an elective, you know, like,
Okay.
And I did it, and I was just like, all right, you know what, like at that point, I don't think I picked a major yet. I think I was playing with the idea of exercise science or exercise physiology, and I was just like, you know what, like I'm gonna just do this, you know, step out of my comfort zone. I would always want to like challenge myself, right? And I remember I had this professor, and she told us to kind of give everybody a speech of whatever topic you want and is related to whatever major you want to pursue. So I thought, all right, I need something of fitness. I need something of cardiovascular. I need something that applies to everyone. And I always thought outside of the box, and I always wanted to grab people's attention.
Okay.
And this topic on my public speaking course, I think it was a test or a quiz or something, or an exam. It was about how many calories and how much fat you can lose by literally having sex.
Wow.
And it was just
what
like
a topic.
Yeah, and you know, like, and I was a sophomore in college, so like it was just like that awkward, like that professor was kind of like, all right, like you guys are adults, but you guys are young adults, so it's like a little weird. So like some of the topics were kind of like, oh yeah, you know, like if you actually, you know, have sex for more than 15 or 20 minutes, you know, you could actually burn X amount of calories, which in turn can actually burn some fat. And then, you know, everybody was fascinated. Everybody was smiling. Everybody was laughing.
You definitely got their attention.
I got their engagement. Like, once you say the word sex, it's like, oh, my God.
Oh, yeah,
like,
everybody's got all wild eyes open now.
Even the professor was like, oh, wow. She brought her notebook. She started taking notes. I don't know if she was trying to tell her husband or I don't know what's going on. But there was at the end of the day, I will never forget this. At the end of the speech, I ended up asking everyone. I was like, hey, does anyone have any questions? And I died after I got this question. I think it was one of my classmates. She was like, what if the man cannot last more than 10 minutes?
He ain't gonna burn no calories in.
Oh,
like, my God.
I was like, you guys are screwed. You guys got to hit the gym
Yikes.
then. Yeah. So it's funny how public speaking really kind of just like, puts you outside of the you know, comfort zone.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially with a topic like that.
Yeah. So speaking about, you know, burning calories and losing fat, etc., I have to touch base on, you know, our training and, you know, our journey, you know, working out together. You know, considering you're my client and I'm your trainer. And again, I'm your friend right now. You know, I'm outside of the gym.
I'm not used to seeing you in this setting, man. This is so
I'm off the book. It's after hours right now, so
I feel like I'm about to do burpees right now. I don't know. I'm so nervous.
No. So I'm off the book right now. So like, how has your journey been so far? Working out in general. I will get into like my training and my training methods, but like working out in general. Like, when did you start working out? Have you ever had a trainer in the past? Like, give me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was watching like maybe about like 3 years ago. I was like, you know what? I need to make some changes. First, I was like, all right, appearance wise, I want to just, you know, I don't want to be just old and, you know, bad or whatever, you know, stuff like that.
What was your epiphany? Like why?
I don't know. I just one day I was like, I need to.
Like I have some people that tell me like they go up the stairs and they start feeling like they have an asthma attack. And
I think I just looked in the mirror one day. I was like, I don't know who this guy is. And while I was, again, here's the other flip side. I was helping so many others. I had a cape on, a superhero cape for everyone else. At the same token, my personal health was in shambles. Like I had forgotten or I had forsaken myself in the process. And I was like, I can be doing this right now and I can be a wonder in this area, but it can be short-lived because I didn't take care of my health.
Yeah.
And so
that's one of those issues as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. Like especially if you produce some type of customer service at like all your customers, all your clients, all your family,
sure,
your clients, you kind of cater to them, and at times you just kind of forget about yourself.
Absolutely. And so self-care is the best care. It's essential. And so for me, I started looking up trainers. I was like, well, let me see how realistic this is. If I don't have someone, at least in the initial phase, on me,
just to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, accountability and really just staying on me. I probably won't do this. I'll probably make up all the excuses, or every day, like I already had a Planet Fitness account, but I never went in there.
Exactly. And you know what, guys, like that's just pausing right there, our conversation, T. There's many reasons why people hire a personal trainer.
Yeah.
It's not only because, they want to lose fat for their wedding or gain some muscle to look cute for their wife. Some people, they want to become educated, or even, last but not least, and most importantly, some people already know what to do to lose weight.
Yeah.
Everybody has some type of logic like, okay, I just need to eat well and just move around. Okay,
right.
Great. But do you have the time to implement that? Do you have the accountability?
Right.
Do you have the discipline to do that? And if you don't, you need accountability.
Yeah.
How do you get accountability? I hire a trainer. I'm paying for this trainer.
That's right.
He's a pretty penny.
That's
so
right.
if he or she is a pretty penny, then you have the accountability like, all right, I'm paying for this. There's no choice but to go unless I'm just going to be throwing, money down the drain.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So then you kind of just, again, manipulate the situation in a positive note so that you can see the benefits of working out.
Absolutely. And that's what I did. I mean, I got a personal trainer. He was no Brian Abarca.
Okay.
All right. But he was
and this was the first trainer.
Yeah, that's my first trainer.
All right, so let me just kind of like pick on that. Like what was wrong, or what did you need more of?
I feel like the contrast, training with you has been more personable. It's like training with a family member, cousin, friend, that type of deal.
That.
I mean, it was more on a relational area, more approachable. It wasn't like, I don't know, I felt like I felt more results faster. And I don't know, it was just different, totally different.
Right. So
and you loved what you do. That's another thing.
Right. So that's with me, but with this guy, like what, or this girl, was it a guy?
It was a guy. It was a guy.
All right. So if with this guy, like what made you kind of just like get turned off? Like what are the little things?
I think that I wasn't seeing the results
after how much time?
I'd been there like 4 or 5 months. Just really wasn't seeing any results.
Not even strength.
Not really.
Okay.
And I just felt like he was distracted.
How?
I think he had other things going on.
Like, was he on his phone?
Yeah, definitely on his phone.
Was he like talking to other people while he was training
and I think
you?
The space, I think also location plays a part in the training, because I think it was such a small space and there were so many different trainers that were in there at one time. It's just, I think the place was all over, it was all over the place. And so, I mean, I didn't really feel like I got the effects out of it. I don't feel like he was fully on his A game and things like that. So, but he ended up, doing something else with his career after that. So I think I may have taken a month or two. I went out of the country and I was away for several weeks. And when I came back, he changed his career.
Oh, wow. And then, I'm assuming you found me.
So like a few
So what was the story with that? Just give me a little bit more.
So that had to be like August or something, like, because I remember going out of the country around that month. It was like August.
Vacation or speeches or what?
Yeah, vacation, but I was speaking. I was doing some church stuff. So it was a lot happening during that time, right? August goes through. So I'm like, I won't set an appointment this month. So now it's about a month. I haven't worked out. So therefore, I'm getting a little lazy now. Every day I'm going, but haven't went. And so next thing you know, it's September. I go out of the country again, traveling, speaking, doing just what I do.
Work, yeah.
And by the time I get back to him in like October, he's like, hey, I changed jobs. And that was it. And so here it is now, from October to about December, I just found myself going way backwards. So, just like eating everything I want to eat, not taking care of myself. The stress of the job is coming on me. Just so many different things are happening at this point. And so I go through Instagram, start looking up people, and I stumble across your page.
How? Like, did you look up hashtags?
No, I just like New Jersey because I didn't want to work out in New York. So I was like, you know what? I'm spending a lot of time in New Jersey. Let me just look up some stuff.
Okay.
And somehow your page, man, came
Do you
up.
remember the post that came up?
I
Do you
don't
remember a
remember. I
transformation?
think it was
Do you
saying
remember a
something like,
workout?
I think the last location where you initially was at,
Okay.
I think that came up, and I saw how close it was to where I live at in the Bronx. So I was like, okay, Hackensack's not far.
Right.
Okay, let's check this out.
Nice. Right. And then, at that time, I kind of went through a transition from a commercial gym to to another lease. I rented out a gym as well. I was there for maybe less than a year. And then, now we're in this lovely facility in New York
Sure,
City.
yeah.
Yeah. So now, how have your, like your journey of working out with me, have you liked it? Have you not liked it? Have you seen some results? Have you seen any positivity? Have you seen any changes mentally? Have you started implementing working out on your own at the gym?
Sure. I don't know. You grinned at me like that, so I'm not sure. But wait, no. So yeah, man, I definitely see the effects. I mean, 2 years in, I think I've been with you about 2 years, and I definitely just even now more consistently, coming off the pandemic. I mean, well, after 2020.
We even trained during the pandemic too.
Yeah, we did. We did outside. That was the day you almost killed me. I felt like, I don't know. I felt like it was a scene off of a modern day Black History movie. I felt like
Mind you, it was in the middle of the summer. It was like 95 degrees. I was sweating too.
Oh,
I was sweating too.
I was dying. He had me out there, man, in this basketball court.
Listen, it was during COVID, so we had to keep our 6 feet distance.
I've never sweated that much before in my life.
But we were still working out. We were out in the heat, and it was pretty bad.
It was.
Like I got home, I drank like a gallon of water.
That was murder.
Done.
That was murder that day. But man, I started just seeing changes in my appearance, changing in my discipline, and I knew I was really catching it that when I wasn't working out, I didn't feel right. Like I was like, I got to get to the gym.
Right. So
even on the road, when I'm on the road,
exactly.
I have to get in there. I got to do something. I got to stay moving. I didn't like the feeling when I wasn't working out, or had there been maybe a few days that I hadn't done anything.
Right.
I just didn't like the feeling. And then also, it was a good de-stressor for me. I mean, it's a time that I can like really let out steam. And
Exactly.
yeah, with everything that I'm doing, like. You don't realize how much you carry pent up on the inside until you're like kind of having to breathe and realize, wait, I don't take time to actually breathe or stretch or exercise.
Exactly.
And, just
and
all those
then
things
now we're implementing a lot more stretching into our routine, just because you've been, pretty tight in your hips. Sometimes you're seated throughout the whole day because of your job. You travel a lot, so sometimes you're in a plane and you're just there minimum 8 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours, etc. So now we've been implementing stretching after every workout together at 10 to 15 minutes, and you've been feeling fine, and you haven't been feeling any tightness in your lower back.
Pains, everything's
in addition to changing your your shoe size, right?
My shoe size. I was wearing the wrong shoe size for mad long.
Tell me how long, T? Because I was shocked.
This was pretty embarrassing. It had to be. I know it's been like 10 years. It had to be well over 10 years because I thought I was wearing an 8.5. I don't even know what possessed me to do that. Maybe at one point I was.
Right. So my boy T, he's been wearing a size 8.5 for nearly 10 years when he is a size 10.5.
Yeah, 10.5.
So, and guys, just, there's been times where, we would work out, and there's been times where, I would see his his hip mobility, his knee mobility, and his ankle mobility. And I'm just like, you know what, something's off. Like, mate, we really need to start stretching. And we've been stretching for a past month and a half, and you just found out about, your shoe situation, 2 weeks?
Yeah, like 2-3 weeks ago.
And now all of a sudden, like, I think the combination of both has
everything's been perfect. I don't like have no issues.
Oh, so just imagine your feet has just been crushed into shoes, like what, like almost 4 sizes
Yeah,
lower.
smaller. Yeah,
That's insane, man.
So it had a whole impact on me.
That's crazy, T. T, like, what do you?
That was embarrassing. I was like, oh, I can't believe it's happening.
All right, see. So, any upcoming speeches?
Yeah, I travel quite a bit.
So give me a little bit more. Like, if people are looking forward to seeing you speak, like in the next 2 speeches, like where are you going to be going?
Yeah, definitely. They can go like right on my Instagram. I usually post stuff up where I'm going to be at. I don't have my personal website. I do have my business website up. We're actually transitioning some things on that.
Where can people?
They can find me at Global Prayer NYC. globalprayernyc.org. Okay. But we're about to change the handle over that. I'm doing some revamping of some stuff. But basically, they can find me on Instagram, Torrey Marcel. Okay. And I'm right there. You can't miss my face.
Yeah, Facebook,
and
TikTok,
Facebook, Torrey Marcel Harper.
Okay.
And I'm on there, man. And you can check out, what I've got going on. Look at some old stuff there. And yeah, man.
Okay. And where's the next speech? Do you have
the next one? I'm not looking at my calendar. I do know I'm going to Toronto. I'll be in Texas in March.
Toronto. T, I've been telling you about this taco spot in Toronto.
Wait, what's the name of it? Taco Emporium, Taco Factory, Taco.
This is Tacos 101, T.
I was close.
I literally quiz you every single time we have a training session.
Taco 101. I gotta remember that.
Guys, listen, I'm not sponsored by this place, but I'm telling you, when I went to Toronto one time in my life, I had the best tacos of my life. It's called Tacos 101. It's in Toronto.
Oh my God.
It's right next to like the Times Square of Toronto. I don't know what the name of it is, whatever, but the name of the place is Tacos 101. And I'm telling you, I fell in love with tacos. Like, I would literally fly out. It's winter right now, so I wouldn't do it right now. But during the summer, I would literally fly out for the weekend for those tacos.
Oh my God.
It was that good.
That's real good tacos.
That's what I'm saying.
There.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go when I go.
I know.
Man, I'm gonna have to work out too after.
All right, so T, so I have these questions asked for me every week on my Question Mondays on Instagram.
Sure.
I was hoping you could kind of help me out with this.
Okay.
All right. So I have this one client, or one not client, but former gym member that I used to, go to. She asked me, her name is Laura. She asked me, do you recommend taking creatine? Now, I'm a trainer. Obviously, I know the answer. I've recommended creatine to you, and you've taken creatine. Why don't you kind of just elaborate on, where'd you get your creatine? Did you feel any, symptoms or side effects? And then I'll just kind of elaborate and just give my take on it.
Sure. I mean, with creatine, of course, I consulted my trainer, talked to you about it. I found out, hey, what are you taking? How do you feel about it? You gave me, just your pointers. You gave me a reference. So I bought the exact one.
Right.
I think it was now Sport creatine. I kind of try to remember all the
creatine monohydrate.
Yeah, but I think the brand name is Now Sport or something like that. Yep. So I started taking that, and
did you feel a difference?
Not right away. I started seeing a difference maybe like a week or two in. Like,
what type of difference?
I started noticing like body mass.
Just a little bigger, right?
Yeah, a little bit bigger.
Right.
But then it made me also conscious of drinking more water, because that was one of the things you told me, make sure that I'm drinking, which is very important, drinking lots of water.
Right.
Yeah, just making sure that I'm working out, keeping moving throughout the day. I try to take it the first thing I do when I get up. That's the first, outside of water. I take my protein shake, mix some creatine in there,
That's great.
So
just to elaborate, I recommended my client T to intake about 5 grams of creatine. I've done some recent research now, and there's been research out there that shows that you can actually intake or consume minimum 10 grams of creatine, and it's safe for a few months. You guys could still do your research as well. And yes, drinking water while on creatine is very, very important. Again, because it could dehydrate you. What it does, biologically and physiologically, is that it stores water into your muscles. So in essence, you're just kind of almost improving your strength with the water mass on your muscle, and also you're adding a little bit more size into those muscle groups that you're working on. Is it safe for men and women? Yes, it is. Can you find it in natural foods? Great question, T. Yes, you can. You can find it in red meat. So that's one of the sources off the top of my head. So yes, red meat has creatine. So you don't need to literally buy supplements out there to get creatine monohydrate or any type of creatine. There's also creatine alkaline, creatine that's micronized. It all depends on how you consume these sources of creatine and how fast you consume them. So micronized, you actually consume it faster. There's some benefits here and there with that. I'm not a creatine expert, but in general, that's the gist of creatine. I do personally take it as well. I take it every morning just because if I set myself up, again, setting myself up for success, if I take creatine in the morning, I know I'm going to still take some sort of water intake throughout the day instead of taking it at night,
Right.
going to sleep for 8 hours, let's say, and I'm almost like not hydrating myself.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you want to kind of just set yourself up for success. Okay. But great question, Laura. T, do you want to say anything else to your followers? Do you want to say anything else to any future fans in the next 2 or 5 years? Like, do you want to say, anything?
Yeah, man. Just encouraging people to go after your dreams, live fearless. Yeah, and then get in the gym, man. Get a good trainer, work out, self-care, just things like that, man. But definitely get a good trainer like Abarca.
Oh, I appreciate it, T. On that note, I toast to your business. I hope everything goes well.
Thanks, man.
I hope you continue changing lives. I admire you so much again, T. Like, literally, when I decided to make this podcast, you were one of the first people that came up to my head because I was just kind of like, this guy is so goddamn humble. He's so like he's so generous and he's so empathetic that like I would love to share his story on my platform.
That's amazing. Thank you, man.
T, good luck, man.
Appreciate
you.
Likewise.
Guys, that's the end of the podcast. I appreciate you all. Love you all. And don't forget to answer those questions on Mondays on my Instagram on Question Mondays. All right. Love you all. Have a good night.